speaking paper, right? And it's 14 minutes and you have 4 tasks, okay? Part 1 is the interview, right? Part 2 is called the individual long term. Part 3 is called the collaborative task. And part 4 is the discussion, okay? Now, this is the way it will look, okay? Normally you have 4 people, okay? And they are candidate 1 and candidate 2. That's you guys, okay? Or we, if we're doing the exam. And there will be 2 people who will be in front of you, okay? One of them is called the interlocutor. He or she is the person that will be speaking directly to you, okay? And you also have another person who is called the assessor, okay? Now, as soon as you come in, normally there's 2 candidates, okay? There might be 3 depending on the number of people taking the exam, but normally there's 2, right? And as soon as you come in, they will ask you to sit down. The interlocutor will say, hello, introduce himself or herself. You know, hello, my name is Santiago. And what are your names? And you will say your names, and then you will have some documents that you filled out. It's okay, let me have your documents. And I will also introduce the other person. Okay, and they say, and this is my colleague, Maria or John, whatever. And he or she will not be speaking to you. Okay, hi, that's it. And then I just give the papers to that person. Okay, that person has to do some administrative things and some other type of assessment. Okay. In the case of interlocutor, we also assess you, but in a different form, and we also give you the instructions and talk to you, okay? Now then, so general things to keep in mind in the speaking part, okay? This is the important thing. Be calm and relax. Remember the activities we've done here, right? We go into groups and you know, we talk, we relax, we have a good time. Similar idea, okay? And this is why, as we will see in part 1, that's the idea of part 1, right? To get you to relax, calm down before we continue with the rest of the test, okay? So that's the first part, be calm and relax. Obviously, speak clearly and naturally, okay? The same way we've been doing here, right? When we've done activities here in the training sessions, you know, you speak normally and naturally. That's the way you need to do that, okay? Don't go crazy. Sometimes people, you know, they say, okay, I'm going to speak as fast as possible so that the people see that I can speak English, you know? That's not natural, okay? That's not normal. So if you speak clearly and naturally, that's what you need to do, okay? You need to listen to the questions, to the instructions, and there are parts in which you need to read, okay? Make sure you listen and you read carefully, and you will see the specific things that we have here, okay? If for any reason there's a question that you did not understand, and the interlocutor asks you to do something or asked you a question, don't be afraid to say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Can you please repeat? Okay. And he or she, they will not change rephrase the sentence or the question, but they will probably speak a little more slowly and maybe a little more clearly, okay? But don't be afraid to ask if you didn't understand the first time. Now, in part 1, let's analyze them a little better, okay? In part 1, which is the interview, okay, you will be having personal, you know, exchanging, the interlocutor will be asking you for your personal information and your opinion about certain topics. Now, again, remember, the idea of this is for you to, okay, sit down, relax, and let's talk about things that you know, right? Personal information. So, have you lived here all your life? Do you like living here? Right? What's the best thing about living here? Things like this. So topics that you already know, so you become more relaxed as you are progressing through this part, right? Remember to support your answer, right? Give a complete answer, okay? You know, for example, they ask, okay, so how long have you lived in the city? I don't know, as long as you have lived here. And okay, do you like living in this city? Don't just limit yourself to saying yes or no, okay? Because remember, I need to have something to evaluate you with. But if you just tell me yes or no, I can't evaluate you, you see? So you'll have a terrible grade because I don't have enough information, you see? So whatever your answer may be, just say, you know, yes, I like living in this city because the weather is beautiful, there's no pollution, and the people are fantastic. I don't know, and the food is great, whatever, okay? But give a little support to your answer, right? Now, don't overextend yourself, okay? But give enough support, okay? Try to think of it as a short interview, okay? So you are calm and relaxed, no problem, okay? Then we go to part 2, which is the individual long term, okay? In the individual long term, okay, you need to describe, you will be given 2 pictures, okay? Each person, one person at a time, okay? For example, and the interlocutor decides, okay? And say, okay, so we will describe the activity. You say, okay, in the next activity, you are going to have 2 pictures and you're going to describe them and answer a question. And in the case of Mary, for example, here are your 2 pictures, okay? Talk about the pictures and then tell me, where do you like to go, for example, okay? And then I'll say, okay, you have 1 minute, okay? You have 1 minute to answer, and the final thing you need to do is answer the question, okay? So this is what you need to do. Describe the pictures, answer the question, and the other person, okay, don't just, you know, whatever, okay? Listen and pay attention to what your the other candidate is doing and saying, right? And here's an example, okay? You will have something like this, okay? And that you have 1 minute. So in that 1 minute, you need to, you know, describe maybe this picture first, okay, the bottom picture first, and then maybe then describe the second picture, okay? Compare them, contrast them, get used to, you know, feeling how much time is 1 minute. And then at the end, at the top here, okay, you have the question, okay? Which place would you like to visit? Okay, so just before the 1 minute is up, answer the question. I would like to visit this place for these reasons, okay? So that's what you need to do in this part here, okay? Now then, in part 3 is called the collaborative task. Obviously, because the 2 candidates are collaborating. And in this case, you will have 3 minutes, okay? You will have 3 minutes to do this task. And in the 3 minutes will be divided into 2 minutes in which you need to analyze, discuss the prompts, okay? And I will interrupt you and say, okay, now you have 1 minute to decide. Continue, and then you have an extra minute. So in total, you have 3 minutes. But in the beginning, what you need to do is first, you will also be given 15 minutes to check. And then I will say, okay, you now have 2 minutes to talk about this. So you talk for 2 minutes, and then I will interrupt and say, okay, you now have 1 minute to decide. Go ahead. And then you start deciding, okay? You need to discuss the prompts, and whatever your opinion is, make sure you support your opinion, okay, as usual. And listen to and involve your partner, okay? Don't monopolize the conversation. You know, don't say, oh, I know, I speak English really well, so I'm going to talk. No, that's not good. That will not give you a good grade. But if you are talking with the other person, you are conversing, that's what we are checking, okay? Are you motivating the other person, right? So this is my opinion for this reason. Well, what about you? What's your opinion? Do you agree or you disagree? Now, if you have the other possibility, the other person starts talking and they don't want to stop, don't be afraid to interrupt. You say, well, you know, actually, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with you. Or, oh, yeah, you're right. I actually agree with you, you know? But you need to have this dialogue, okay? And this is what it would look like, okay? You will have a question or a situation here, okay? And then you will also have the different options, right? Option 1, option 2, option 3, 4, and 5, or in the other way, doesn't matter. They will not say option 1, 2, 3. They're just sentences, right? Okay, and what you need to do, and say, okay, here is the situation, okay, or here's the question. You have 15 seconds, so you and your partner check the question and read the different options, correct? So that way you are prepared. And then after about 15 seconds, I'm going to say, okay, please start discussing. And what you need to do, you have 2 minutes, remember? So you say, well, in my opinion, I think this is the best solution for this problem because blah, blah, blah. What do you think? Now, the other person will say, no, I don't agree with you because blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, this is the best solution because blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then either the person gives you the opportunity or you interrupt and say, wait, no, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you because this would not work because of these reasons. I think maybe this option would be better. So in those 2 minutes, you analyze the different options, okay, giving enough support and talking. And then I will normally interrupt you and say, okay, when the 2 minutes are up, and say, okay, you now have 1 minute to decide. In that 1 minute, you continue talking, and then you say, okay, in my opinion, this is the best option because of this reason. What about you? The person or you may agree. So you just say, I agree with you also for these reasons. Or if you disagree, no problem. You say, well, no, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, this is the best option for these other reasons. Okay. And that's the final minute that you have in these 3 minutes. Okay. And then that'll be it for part 3. Okay. The idea here, as I mentioned, is we need to see the two candidates talking and sharing ideas. Okay. Conversing and giving each other the opportunity, answering, reacting to the opinions, okay? That's what we need to see here. And then finally, you have part 4, which is the discussion, okay? And the discussion here, make sure that you extend your answers, but don't overextend it. As I mentioned before, make sure you use complete sentences and support or justify your opinion, okay? And that's it.